Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. See my audio works. I see my video works. Let's get to Facebook. I feel like my camera's a little blurry. Yeah, that's much better. I had a Post-it note on it earlier. Let's see. Did it go to Facebook? Yep. Hold on. Let me get this done. And then I can fully pay attention. So we're going to actually name this one. Well, it's day 5B.
Isn't that a funny phrase? Pay attention?
It actually is. I've never thought of it like that. I wonder what it would be like to get paid to pay attention. All right, and then I always have to unmute this now.
So we don't need echo. Today.
You can turn that so you're in it. There we are, muted there, playing live there. Perfect.
Woo.
Actually keep that small. We've got somebody in the chat. Wendy says it's 7 a.m. in Sydney. What time is it in Copenhagen, Celeste? It's probably middle of your day, I think, from what I remember, right? And let me get participants showing. Hello, Miss Leah. And let me get Q&A up just in case we have anybody who does it that way. Okay, Wendy, as you're chatting, you are saying only to panelists, which means only Ron and I can see it. So if you want to make future comments, there's a little drop down that you need to use that says panelists and attendees. Celeste has it there. Oh, it's 9 p.m. there. Yep, it's the end of your day. Cool. All right, so you can see us? Yes, you can hear us?
I can see you.
The lighting looks much better. I had to crawl under the desk to figure out how to get it behind the desk, but it's behind the desk now. Awesome. And we got just a couple of minutes here until we get started. Sorry about postponing on you yesterday, but there was just a little too much going on. So we want to be able to be present for you and all of that. So glad that you guys could be flexible with us in that, right? How does it get any better than that?
Woo, woo.
All right. Yeah, soccer days and kids are sometimes a little bit crazy. There was lightning, and they delayed the game, and I got my 10,000 steps in for the day, though, walking on the field and off the field and on the field and off the field. And, of course, I looked fabulous, so even though it rains, I've learned to wear a hat. And then if you get rained on, then you don't have, like, that bad of hair. I never refuse to look like a boring, flappy old soccer mommy. So everything has to be bling, bling, and sparkles. So.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
I am.
This is day 5, even though it said it was day 6.
So where would you like to begin today?
I want to do a quick recap, and it is recording. Just a quick recap from this perspective of, so what we started with was stretching you into the idea and the possibility that's, you know, within touch of our reality, but we're not quite sure it's part of your reality right now, of being able to generate with your business $1 million. And we went into looking at why you would want to create $1 million business. And I'm going to put just a little tickler on, and then I'm going to come back to it later. But as another piece of homework, I'd like you to look at this is the piece we haven't quite talked about. We talked about like monetarily, like what you would want to spend the money on, right? But we haven't talked yet about the impact that receiving $1 million for your service would provide. Okay, so think about that for a second. Think about if you were sitting back and fully the CEO of your business and you were like, wow, I have $1 million business. And let's just say that we have 10 clients at, $10,000. So we have $100,000 coming in from $10,000 clients. We're brave enough that we have, some, let's say $25,000 clients. So let's give us 5 of those. So 5 times 25 is what?
125.
So we had another 100. We're at 225 there, right? Let's throw in $100,000 client, right? And then let's think about that we have affiliate income that's generates 6 figures a month.
I like the way you think.
A year for us. We have products from our website that our website's generating 100,000 from us. We might have things that we've invested in that produce, dividends and things like that. But
I order rainbow unicorns to deliver sacks of money.
Right. And, we're also talking about that this wasn't necessarily that you had to create that in a whole year, right? That you could create it over a couple of years or, your time frame was fine, right? But just think about the fact that if you had, all those clients paying the high rates and a couple of clients paying the really high rates, and then a lot of clients paying low level prices because they were being introduced to you, think about the impact that would be making on those individuals' lives.
I love that.
Right? So whatever work that you're doing, right, you take that and you think of, so for us, right, we think about, okay, well, each one of you is going to know how to put together a package that transforms somebody's life instead of just continues to let them come in session by session and never really get results, never be held accountable, never really see the big picture of what's going on, right? So you would be working with people whose lives really changed, right? You would be helping people with your lower level products that weren't able to invest yet with you or weren't committed to spending the time to get the accountability that they needed to work with you privately, right? And you would be creating all of these joint venture relationships or all of these people hosting you on webinars
You have
and
so
podcasts.
many good ideas.
What do you mean?
You have so many good ideas about how things can work out well for you.
Okay.
I'm just celebrating.
Okay.
You just started getting on a roll of what if you had this and what if we had that? What if we had this? What if we had that?
That's the impact that
I
we'd
know.
be making,
I know.
right?
I know. I
So
like
we'd probably be flying around the world, meeting these people and getting to go to events and meeting more cool people, right? So breathe into like the expansiveness of, what that would look like for you to be that impactful of a person. Maybe somebody would recognize you in the store or recognize you when you went out in public. I just moved so nobody does that. Right? But when you go to events, I remember the first time that somebody caught me in the bathroom at an event, we were washing our hands, and she's like, "Oh my God, are you Mandy? Oh, I've subscribed to your list and I get all your stuff." And like, "Oh my God, it's really you." And it felt so foreign to like have somebody know about me that I hadn't actually met. And that's kind of like for me one of those things of like, oh, I think I've arrived. I think I, have some impact like
I'm
this.
famous.
Right? So thinking about the impact, I'd like you to maybe in tonight's meditation as you drift off to bed or tomorrow as you get yourself that cup of coffee and you're getting settled into your day, think about what that impact means to you. Does it mean the people that you interact with, or does it mean their friends and their family and their faith in the universe and their finances and their, belief in their body and their abilities? Like, think about the impact that you really want to make.
Can I get examples of what impact means for you guys in the group? Like, what does making an impact mean?
Good.
Like for
Good
me,
question.
I like the idea of it being, there's sort of 2 concepts. One is if I can brighten somebody's day, if I could be a light and brighten somebody's day just in a moment, right? That feels really, really good. And then in other instances, making an impact would create a change that could, be an everlasting change that somebody could, appreciate every day thereafter. Right. So I like to create an impact in my children's lives. And I set aside a lot of time. I study their, what their love language is and how I can help them. And, I really enjoy that. It makes parenting a lot more fun because I understand that I'm wanting to make an impact, and that makes it more about me. I understand what I'm getting out of it. It's not just, wiping asses,
Feels like that sometimes.
Yeah.
driving around and whatnot.
Right.
All right. So beyond the impact, we're going to have this one be a little bit of a sobering Sunday, I guess. But I'd like to move on to the topic now, because let's go ahead and deal with the shitty side of things now than to have it
the
actually
shit sandwich.
the shit sandwich. So it's look at this, right? So what's going to happen if you guys don't, right, step it up, get out of your own way, figure it out, get some help? What is your life going to look like even a year from now? Maybe we need to go a month from now. Now, I know in the beginning of me, creating a reality, I knew I could create a reality where I was homeless under a bridge and, 5 minutes I could get to that destitute place in the future. But I had a really hard time believing and really seeing all of the details and feeling all of the feelings about what I wanted to create for the future. So I feel like a lot of you are that way too, right? So imagine just for the next 90 days, right? If you don't learn the skills that you need to learn, if you don't take the actions that you need to take, what is your finances going to look like? What is your life going to look like? What is the impact, or it's really the lack of impact, right? I always tell the story that, if you don't suck it up and figure out how to get clients, those clients are going to go to other people who you spend a lot of time judging that they're not as good as you, or they don't help people as much as you, right? So if competition doesn't invigorate you and inspire you, you've got to choose something else that's going to motivate and inspire you.
I like that. Something that comes up as you're talking about it is when you are in a position where you're not sure that you can make an impact, and you're not sure that you have enough time or enough space or enough money to make an impact, because you're not getting enough done for yourself, that you don't feel like you can do it, you don't think that it's possible for you, or that you've been waiting for some other thing to happen, then you could create a scholarship, or then you could be a mentor, or then you could create these changes. I want you to recognize that in that suspension of asking for it now, right, that you're letting it go further into the future. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why I like to have the two types of impacts, because some of them, in larger ways, some of them may take time to create something that other people can access, right, to actualize maybe a material book, or a special talk, or to create something that other people can utilize. But I know that I shape the lives of everybody around me through how I show up, right? And in knowing that, it gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum to expect that of myself, that I should be in that position, that I expect that that's how I would wake up. And I have a practice that gets me into that place. So I practice being awesome. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's where an impact is. So what does the impact mean for you guys?
So Celeste says, I'd be living under a bridge in a cardboard box with no horse, no cat, and no money. Leah says, without the impact, I'd end up in the same place as I am now, frustrated and not living full potential. So what I'm going to say about that, and let me also just pull you out of this conversation and say what we're doing now, and even in this entire series, is the kind of things that you need to be doing to your prospects, right? Ultimately, right? So when someone tells you, so what's going to happen, right, when you don't do what you need to do, and you say the answers, the next thing I got to say to you is, well, so the fuck what? So what? So Leah is in the same place that she's in now, and she's frustrated. Big deal. She's been frustrated for a long time now, right? And Celeste is, saying, I'll be under a bridge in a cardboard box. I would have to question, really in 90 days that would be the case, or would you just be one step closer to that, right? And so what?
Are you saying that because you're just a heartless bitch? So what?
No, I'm saying that because I actually really care, because if we don't, our emotions are, it is what motivates us to change or to take action, right? You're not going, and most of it is actually how bad we feel about the poo piles we've created in our lives and how shitty our lives feel. And why I'm bringing us to this place today to have this conversation today is, if we can deal with what's possible, right? And we can look at other realities that we could choose, and we start to see that they're just choices, then we can get a sense of, okay, what actions can I take today that lead me down the road where I create really amazing things, instead of let me go down the road where I'm going to create this continued poo pile just because I like to entertain myself with it, right? So being able to, and it also helps you to see where you go into these weird sort of conclusions. Like what I said with Celeste is, I don't think that she's going to be homeless under a bridge in 30 days.
In
right?
3 easy steps.
Because those things usually take just a little bit longer to actually have happen, right? And if it was really, really that case, right, something would shift, right? And what we sometimes play with ourselves is we sort of, it's like we like to test the edge. We like to just see how far we can push it, because then we have the ability to make a big comeback and totally turn things around, and then feel better about how much power we really actually do have.
And be right.
And be right. So I'd like to motivate you out of that trauma sort of cycle, and see that you're choosing it. Because if you see that you're choosing it and you just make a different choice, right? It's all just choice. There's not right, there's not wrong. There's just the choice of it. So let's go choose something that's fun and phenomenal and rewarding and going to help us make an impact and going to help us make money, and see what happens from there.
So take that back to your original comment about so what.
Okay.
So clients come in, friends come in, and they're saying, well, this is my circumstance. This is my thing. And you're saying, so what? How are you trying to?
So first of all, we immediately say, what's going to happen based on what's in our head, right? And asking the so what helps sort of, hopefully, depends on how much in your head versus your body or your heart you actually are, right? But if you can get yourself down to a place of really knowing yourself and knowing what's going on for you, right? Then it's not that you're going to be homeless under a bridge. You're afraid that you won't be able to pay the rent. You're afraid that, you'll never get another client again. And if you still have some semblance of hope in your life, there's a little portion of your brain that we've got to get to turn up even louder that says, yeah, but remember the time this thing happened, this amazing thing happened, or remember the time that this thing happened? And it's what will, if you latch onto it or hold on to it, it's what sort of will propel you out of that state that you're in and get you to take the action, right? Get you to say, you know what, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to make one more phone call. I'm going to ask one more person about something.
And also this so what is designed to propel you guys into a larger conversation and question where you just created a dead end and you created a conclusion, right? You've made whatever that conclusion is super important for you. And we're looking at you going, I don't have to see that as the end. I don't have to see that as a conclusion. I don't know that I agree with that as an assessment. And I know that more things are possible. So I just go, so what? Because I'm putting that back onto you to continue to dialogue. Right? What are you making so important? What about that's happening? Because you've given me the first objection with that, and I'm trying to push through and hear what's really going on for you.
And on a consciousness level, you have to understand this for yourself and your clients, because let's go back to a basic principle here. 99% of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are not yours. Okay? So when you're in this state of saying, we'll use people who come to us as an example, right? So when people come to us, they're like, I want to get better at sales and marketing, or I want to make more money, right? The symptom is I want to make more money. That comes from usually 3 places. They're not selling the right thing. They're not, getting out there and being visible enough to the right people, or they don't know how to ask for people to pay them money, right? Those are the 3 main categories. But people don't usually say, I need more help with marketing. They say, I need more clients, or I need more money, right? And so if they are in a conversation and they're like, so, I want more clients. Okay. If you don't figure out how to get more clients in 6 months, what's going to happen? And they're like, oh, I'm going to be homeless under a bridge, or, I guess I'll be scraping by to pay the bills. And I go, okay, cool. Well, so what's so bad about that? And this is where consciousness takes over, because if somebody is trying to achieve a dream that's not theirs, that's not truly really theirs, right? Maybe they want to lose, maybe they think they want to have a body that's a size 2, but their body really doesn't want to be a size 2. So they've spent all these years trying to lose weight because they think that that's what they're supposed to do, because that's what everybody tells them they're supposed to do. And instead they're like, no, I'd really like to drink wine, and I'd really like to eat carbs, and, I don't want to be a size 2. Right? You're helping them to identify whether or not what they want is really what they want. Because if they get into a so what, you might find out, oftentimes we do, is the difference between somebody who has a hobby business and somebody who has a real business is they're willing to do whatever is necessary to learn the skills, to run the business, to market themselves in their business, and to do sales. And some people are like, no, I'm not really interested in doing that or going the extra mile. And then it's like, okay, cool. You just want to have a hobby? Go have fun doing that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And then you've actually given somebody the gift of understanding, I don't really want a business. I really just want to play around for a couple hours every day, or, a week. And in 6 weeks, I'm going to get bored and I want to go do something else. Okay, cool.
So something came up and then it left while you were talking. I'm wondering if I wanted to go back and try and get it. In the so what, right? I can offer 2, general outcomes that come through just when you were able to press the conversation sooner. And you can press the conversation with yourself, right? You can get into why do you want it? So what is just another way of asking why, right? Why do you want it? Because the why will tap into some basic root. And when you have some emotion around it, then you understand that's where the energy is of what's happening, right?
And some of it ends up being mommy and daddy shit, I'm supposed to be doing this.
Because then I would be accepted, and then I would be loved, and then, it's hard to see that when you're just looking at clients. Typically, money and time are never the real objection.
No.
So when you push through it. So the other part of it that was so what is that you often have something that you really want that you're afraid to ask for because you don't feel like you can have it. And by pushing this, I've had clients one after another say, well, what I really want is, and they say it in such casual tone. It's, well, because you're, all right, you're bothering me, you're pressing me. Okay, so what I really want is I want this. And what that is either diametrically opposed or 10 times larger, right? So often the reason you're struggling with the tiny thing is that you're not asking for enough. You're really not asking for something large enough.
This is why we have to have $1 million business, right? Your business really wants this, right? Your body wants this because it wants all the money that you're going to make, because it needs to be treated well and eat well and be pampered and things like that. Like these are fun things that we get to do with our body by living in this reality.
I like to taste.
So what, right? So what if you don't have the impact and the income that you really truly desire this year? Like, what does that matter to you? Now, I have such a fun sales conversation story from somebody who was an access consciousness person. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that modality, they do bar sessions where they put their hands on people. So people come in for a session, lay on a table, put their hands on, or there's some verbal processing. So somebody might call in and you'd spend 30 minutes like a therapist or an hour on the phone with somebody, right? And in this particular case, this woman had capacities with horses and wanted, to get more clients who were horses to work with. And so she was talking to me about how she, wanted to grow a business, wanted to get more clients. And it was around, I think it was around right before Thanksgiving. So it was sometime in November. And we got her to, what does she want? She wants more clients. Okay. Why doesn't she have that? It's because she doesn't understand sales and she doesn't understand marketing and she sucks at time management and she likes doing her modality instead of like running the business. Okay. So these are all things that we need to, practice and get better at. And so I said, okay, so, what's going to happen if you don't learn to do these things? And she's like, oh,
I guess I won't be able to save the horses.
She was like, the horses won't be saved. And, there's so many sick horses out there. And she got all teary and she was really, really moved, right, by being able to, she knew she had a gift and she knew that there wasn't anybody else in the area who could help them. And so I said, okay, that's great. I just held the space for her to sort of be in communion with that environment that wanted her to step up her game. And so then we got into the next step of, okay, so based on what you're telling me, here's, how I can help you. And here's what I think that it might take, right? And here's the investment. And she said, okay, that all sounds good. But I'd really like to wait until after the holidays, right? Because I'm busy, my kid's coming into town and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I stopped her and I said, so here's I'm going to side out this. So it's really important to acknowledge where somebody is at. I don't always do this perfect, but in this case, I was like, I can hear you. And for me, saying something like that, like, okay, I can see that you could feel that way. It gives you also the space to sort of think through in your head how to not agree with that point of view. Because if I had a point of view that Christmas was going to be a busy time, I would have said, yeah, you're so right. We'll just go ahead and start in January, right? But I knew that that's a lie. Or it's also what came up for me really strong is because she'd just been crying a couple seconds later about the horses was I was like, I can see that you might feel like your time's really busy right now. And, you'd rather start in January. So you know what I'll do? Let me call up all the horses and I'll tell them that they can't get sick for the next 6 weeks. Because you're not going to be available. And if they do, then they have to go put their lives in the hands of these other people who, you've already said are incompetent and have hurt lots of horses before. So, no problem. We'll just get that taken. And she just said, never mind. Let's start tomorrow. Because she saw the absurdity of the story she was going to tell herself about being too busy, right? And I said, good job. Like you passed the test of willingness, right? Because if she's willing to see out of her own story and to see where her story is like stupid, I said, I can help you with the time management. I can help you with the fact that you're going to be, you're going to be juggling kids and holidays and gifts and people being sick and whatever. But these horses don't just not get sick because it's Christmas. They don't just take time off. And neither do your clients, right? But if you don't get them to the why of why they care about all this, then somebody would be like, okay, fine, the horses can get sick, but I'm just too busy. I can't handle it.
I like that story because as you talk about having to juggle the holidays and the events and the kids and the horses.
It's always a juggle.
Right. And you should be part of that juggle. You shouldn't set what you want to have happen in your life down and not have that be in the juggle. So if you're not juggling what you want and what you need in your life, then you're not serving and honoring yourself. I hadn't thought of it that way before you told me that story now. That there's you are here for you.
even if you feel like you're there, you're here for everybody else. Like, we all know your cup isn't, you can't give of your own cup. You can't put on somebody else's oxygen mask unless you have your own on. But we live out of alignment with that principle so many times, partially to not take care of our bodies, to not take care of our relationships, to half-ass our relationships with our family and friends, right? To, get to a lot of times dive into where society is like, oh, I'm so busy. Well, I have looked at that lately because sometimes I buy into what you guys tell me or my clients tell me sometimes, and I start to feel like overwhelmed and busy. And I realize, like, so sometimes the pattern is like, okay, I feel busy and I'm overwhelmed. I'll go binge watch whatever. We watched a couple really good series at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to notice that when you do it, you don't enjoy it so much. Like, there's a rightness to binge watching, every so often. But if you catch yourself doing it like all the time to escape or for me, it's like, oh, so I kind of need some new skills when it comes to managing stress or managing to being able to switch between activity to activity. It's not that there's a wrongness here, but it's how do I take a couple of minutes? For me, moving I love to move, but when I go into, well, I'm not going to roll the yoga mat out because then I'll get sweaty. And if I get sweaty, then I'll need to take a shower and then I'll ruin my hair and I'll have to redo my makeup. So I have conclusions there that put me, down a path. But if I would stop and go, okay, so what other tools can I use, right? So for me, I've been playing now with breathing, right? Like, if I just take my app on my phone, I can do a 2-minute breathing exercise and completely shift the vibration that's happening in my body and get back present in my body so that the thoughts stop and I can go, okay, now it's time to go on to the next activity. It's time to put my mommy hat on, or it's time to put my lover hat on, or it's time to, go be carpool person. Those are just, when you can look at those things without judgment of them and just allowance of like, cool, oh, I got to hire a new person to help me now. Yay! Right? And then okay, cool. Well, it might be fun to have somebody who, would teach me these techniques. I wonder what that would be like. I wonder how I could create the money for that. And it's in those like desires like that where we actually do go out and create. Like, the client might come this afternoon in some weird way, or for you in the next day, because your body's like, yeah, I really want you to go take yoga, or I really want you to, get the acupuncture we need, right? If you're in communion with everything, all of this will start to sort of make sense and feel, I guess, more holistic or more ease, whatever kind of words you want to put with it.
Mm-hmm. So in the comments, there's 2 comments that I want to reference. One of them is Leah says that I live in my empathy and accept their story, and that keeps me from nudging them more, right? And I wrote an article a while back that the basic title of it is "Empathy is Crap."
I don't think you've posted that one yet.
Empathy is crap, right? And that's based on some principle, right? That in the highest order, right? If you're wanting to create a change for someone and you can only see them in the reality that they're in, that you're not helping them get out of that reality. You're helping them stay in that reality, right?
And it's also like, it's almost like you bully them, or you, like, it's just as bad to sit on the sidelines and continue to say, you're fat, you can't ever do this. You can't ever do this. Because you're just believing them in their story.
And so there's a lot of nuance with that. And I'm trying to highlight it, that there's some root verbiage that we can play with, and we don't need to go down all of the wormhole, but sympathy and empathy, if you're feeling something about this, you can explore the roots of that. As an empath, right, you get to know what other people think and feel, right? But you shouldn't just assume that for yourself. And that's a basic fallacy.
Being able to separate that is why we talked about it. 99% is not yours, right? Yay, you for being able to like perceive it. But what you do
Notice
is
the change in wording she
you
used.
take it on as yours, and then you go, oh, my back hurts, or oh, my neck hurts, or oh, my, oh, I am anxious, or I'm depressed. No, you're not. You're not any of those, right? Give that, return it to sender, and use that as a superpower to say,
Do you get to?
it's a choice. There's lots of things, and hey, we do not have to be perfect at this. There are lots of ways that I continue to distract myself in different areas because I don't have an awareness of it yet. But it's so much fun to now go on this conscious journey and to see like, oh, the reason I'm not creating money for this activity is because I didn't really want to do that, or I have some points of view about that, oh, now I can like clear, and then, I can come with a lot more ease. So I want to address some of the things on the chat because they're so good.
Please. I have a story that I can wrap up about empathy.
Go ahead.
In one of my favorite sort of crossover events, and a crossover events, where you have like this part of your world and this part of your world have like an event together, right? Abraham, through Esther, told a story about Jesus's healing. And she said that the reason that Jesus was a natural healer is that in his perspective, he only saw you in your highest light, that he only existed in his highest light. And based on the law of attraction and the quantum physics around it, that when you got into his sphere, right, you could only show up as your healed, perfect self. And you're like, wow, because it totally ties all the other pieces of it that you like together. You just had never heard of it said so simply.
That makes me think about the whole growing up for me and like needing to accept Jesus Christ as my savior, and then, becoming one with all that, which they still wanted it to be separate, but
they have a hard time with you being God.
Right. Energetically now I'm like, okay, so, and taking the blood of Christ and all of that. Okay. So now we're one with all of that, right? Like that means that I'm choosing.
You're trying to embody the power of the Lord.
That
You're trying to embody the power
of being
of the Lord.
able to see everybody in their divine perfectness all the time, right? So with that, let's look at, so Celeste says here, she is choosing what she's choosing to prove everyone wrong when they say I am incapable of owning and running a successful business.
I wonder whose voice that is, Celeste.
Oh, she's saying she wants to do it. So by every moment where you look at your reality and you say you are failing, couple ways I would look at that is, first I would catch myself doing it, right? And be like, oh, cool, I'm doing it again. And then I would return to sender with consciousness attached, right? You're just taking that thought, and it's actually like I'm rubber, you're glue. I'm sticking it to you and not to me, right? And acknowledge, like, thank you, daddy energy, or thank you, brother, or thank you, mother, whoever's thoughts that are flowing to you in those moments, and say, okay, so nope, I'm not going to fail at this. What actions can I take right now to be more visible, to be more profitable, to make a bigger impact, or to ask somebody for money? And that's where you get to choose in every 10 seconds. Okay, I know how to do this. I do. Mandy's taught us a lot. Ron's taught us a lot. I could Google whatever I needed to know right now. I just need to learn to change the thoughts that are going on in my head. Right? So good job with that. And we do that. We prove, when I was in my first marriage, my ex kept asking me, when are you going to make money? When are you going to make money? Or when are you going to make enough money? And I could create money if the air conditioner broke and I needed to, pay to have it replaced. I could come up with that, but I never created money for vacations or clothes or, the fun stuff, right? I actually created it for clothes because I gained weight and I didn't have anything to wear and I needed to wear it on stage. Like, nice creation there, right? but nothing for fun. And it wasn't until literally when I chose to say, we need to get divorced, we need to choose separate lives. And I asked for the beach house, and I was like, okay, universe, I am stepping out there and I am trusting that this is going to work. And I'm calling all the people I need to call, and I'm asking for the money. That my first $10,000 like pay in full client showed up, right? So I'm getting this beach house and I'm getting this $10,000 check because I decided about the future that I wanted, and I kept taking action even though it was freaking scary every goddamn step of the way, and every
You're
moment.
supposed to keep going when it's scary?
Every second, yes. So you need to, whatever tools are in your toolbox. I learned EFT, I had therapy, there's wine, there's, access, there's all Reiki, acupuncture, like all of that. Do it. Take care of yourself. And for me, I chose that, I needed to learn to invest in all of those other modalities because it helped me to be the person that I needed to be to create the life that I wanted. And if crazy, emotional, hormones out of whack Mandy showed up, I wasn't going to have the successful business that I wanted. I had to get all of those other things dealt with and looked at and taken care of, and my life supported with it like that.
So I move forward. I want to go back one. Would you slide that back to that longer?
Like up from Wendy?
Yep.
Okay.
It says empathy. I have supervised many student practitioners and they all fell into the empathy trap. I suggested they get out of it or leave the room. And to get out of it, I asked if they consider that all practitioners have a need to be needed. Oh, I like that. They need to be needed, and they need to know when they are crossing that line, as they are no service to anyone over that line, empathizing too much. So the other like conceptual idea that I keep in mind, that if you are in a circumstance, you cannot change that circumstance, right? In this reality, if you are mad at a thing, you can't change that thing, right? So you have to stay detached from the outcome or the circumstance itself, and then you're free to change it in whatever way is possible for you. But if you're committed to a particular outcome, you have very limited ability to change that circumstance. So the empath, it feels natural to want to feel how they feel, and then wrap up in guilt and shame and whatever other poop you can come up with that locks you into that idea. But it's much better for you to stay above the problem, close enough to understand it, but not be sucked into it. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So let's look at some other pieces of very tactically, right? And all of what I'm going to say right now is based on my experience in building this heart-centered sort of conscious business in a way that works in the world right now. And an odd awareness that I've had over my own decade of helping others, right, is I could teach a client how to make money on Twitter, right? And in the beginning, I had two, main pupils, and one took action on what I told her to go do, and she tweaked it in ways that worked for her, and she succeeded, right? You guys know the story of Anne making $35,000 in a month from Twitter, right? And Anne, when I met her, made $18,000 in a year, right? And is now buying $14,000 diamond bracelets because she just has enough money that she can do whatever she wants, right? And there's another client who goes unnamed, right, who still to this day, can't figure out how to get on Twitter and can't figure out tweeting and is really just annoyed by Trump and can find every excuse in the book for not succeeding, right, at that. And I've even said, okay, so Twitter might not be for you. Let's go play on Facebook, or, I've even helped her, okay, let's go play on LinkedIn. And it continues to be this, choice really of not making it work. So everything that I have learned to teach over the years really is from the point of view of I'm giving you the steps that are like holistically the steps needed to get from here to there. But because we are all on a co-creative journey together, you're going to receive this information in your own way. And hopefully as your leader, we're going to empower you to understand it in your own way and translate it so that it works for you, and then to have you take the next step. And that's what's going to help you to be successful, right? Because if you take the steps that we teach you and go, well, Mandy said if I post 5 times a day on LinkedIn, I would get clients. Like, yes and no, right? If you do that,
you didn't say how long it would take, though, right?
If you do that in a spiteful way, if you do that going, I still know it's not going to work, it won't, right? Your perception creates your reality. So I want to walk through right now, based on my experience, these are the things that you need to get real about mastering in order to get to 6 figures and in order to move to that step of multiple 6 figures. Okay. So get out a clean sheet of paper or pull up a notepad on your phone or something like that. I'm going to walk through these verbally with you. We'll get them on a nice piece of letterhead later on, but these are what I know sort of is helpful. So the first one is, actually, let me take a sip of water. Do you have anything to say before we dive into these?
You're doing great.
Okay.
Love
Are our
this.
children being picked up or dropped off?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I just need to double check.
We got one at a birthday party and one in the bedroom. Okay. Do you know how to create a program that delivers high value, is not trading time for money, has a myriad of benefits included in it, and help somebody really transform? Like, do you know how to put together the 3 group calls, 4 private sessions, 3 emails, 2 text messages, and a partridge in a pear tree? Right? Maybe it's the 12 days of Christmas program, right? Say yes or no in the chat if, like, yes, I've got that down, I'm good, or no, that's still something I'm working on. Now, I don't care if you're pricing it at 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 20,000, 100,000. It doesn't matter. But I have a skill. I've mastered the skill of, if somebody looks at me and says they need X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, I can go, based on what you're telling me, this is how much time it's going to take. This is how much, you're going to need from me. And this is how much I want to charge for that. And I have a real easy time of doing that.
That's the basic components of her being able to discuss a program with a person, knowing that she's got these sort of, I can put a program together on the fly based on what you just gave me that looks like this.
So, yes or no? So Wendy says yes, she's working on that. Leah says yes and no. And then Celeste says no. I know we've got some others listening in different other ways. So let us know. Like, this might be something that you're not quite sure that you can do, okay? But that's a skill, right? And let me give that 2 pieces here, because there's one piece of just designing it, meaning you can write out on paper what they get tangibly, 4 of this, 2 of that, 3 of those, right? Then there's another skill of communicating that to somebody else. And then there's, I think, a 3rd level of how do you take what somebody tells you and translate that into what it is that you're offering. Okay? Because most of the time the people come to you and they say, I want this, but it's a subset of what it is that you can help them with, right? Like Jane helps people with leadership skills. They're really probably not wandering around going, I need to be a better leader. They're coming and saying they're not going to get promoted because the manager says that they're, full of themselves. She has to bridge the gap for the person when she's doing the sales conversation to get
translate
that,
between being full of themselves and having leadership skills might address that. I understand what you're
right. She has to get that person to admit for themselves, oh, so my being full of myself makes me come across like this. And so if I could learn these other skills that would help me, because that's probably truly not how the person wants to come across, but they don't know that they don't know, right? So do you know, like, where in the cycle of things is that? Okay. A 3rd piece of I have no idea with numbers anyway. Another piece is a commitment to it. So I spent a lot of years with, I went out and I put together a program based off of like the people that I knew, and I sold it. And then I would meet new people and I would go create new programs. And that was a great skill. But in order to scale stuff, you need to learn how to take, if you find somebody new, how to fit them back in the old mold, right? So your ability to continue to love the challenge of basically going, everybody the universe puts in front of me, how can I help them see if they would benefit from what I want to offer and how I want to offer it, and how do I, sort of play that investigative game of helping them to make those mindset shifts. So jot that one down now too, on like if that's something that you're good at. Okay.
I can tell a story.
You can tell a story. Go ahead.
No, man, I can tell a story. That's a skill set that's similar to what you were asking about.
Oh, okay.
And you draw them from where they are to where you would like them to see themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And here's a piece that you might suck at. All of us who are very good at being teachers want to tell the person they're fat, want to tell the person that they're a bad leader. Oh, well, based on what you're telling me, you're a bad leader.
We're getting, yeah.
So Leah says, restate that question. Can you help me with what that question is?
You had given the number 4 or whatever, like, can you take them from the attribute of you talk too much or you're annoying into leadership skills? That was the... And
that skill comes in, you can't say, well, based on what you're telling me, your lack of this is why you're not a good leader and why you're not getting promoted. You actually have to ask a question that makes them connect those two dots. And then say, okay, so let them have the aha. And after they have the aha, then you can say, okay, that's something I can help you with. Like, I can help you change that. But if they don't make the aha for themselves, they're not buying into the transformation. They're sort of just going through the motions.
The original suggestions you made was, what was the aspect of the person that leadership skills could help?
They were full of themselves or something, right. Or they were...
So the feedback that you got from your superior was that you're full of yourself. How do you feel about that? How do you feel like that shows up for other people?
Fair, yeah.
Right?
Because she may feel like she's not.
Well, and so what does being full of yourself mean? How do you think being full of yourself shows up to other people? Do you feel that you create a visceral reaction that maybe you feel like you're trying to do one thing, do another? I'm asking you these questions because I'm trying to get your point of view on your perspective. Do you think you're full of yourself? Right? And then I know I just presented that as a yes, but I didn't say you're full of yourself. I'm trying to draw in a series of questions to understand, do they think they're full of themselves? Right? Because if they don't recognize that as something that they need to do, they can't commit to something they don't recognize is. Right? And then so in our leadership program, we go through the top 3 communication techniques to break down messages and deliver them simply, to make sure people understand where you're coming from. And also within that, we have what we would call like mindset exercises that help you get out of your head, right? One of the reasons why someone would come across as being full of themselves is confidence, right? And you come across to me as extremely confident. How can we take that confidence and channel it in such a way that the other person receiving it feels positive? See how I just ping pong. Yeah, I'm just ping ponging that around, right, to draw them through a conversation, right?
Right. Hey, we got Deborah on the line now too. Coaching is about asking the right questions to help the client go deeper to find the answers that are already within them. You have great coaching skills. So this is one of the reasons why I actually love Access Consciousness. And if it's a modality you've never heard of, I know some of you are totally new to it. Access teaches you, like, their fundamental philosophy of stuff is like, that for you what works for you. Every single person, right? Because that means none of us are broken or there's nothing wrong with us, right? And so in going through, just reading the Access books, they give you tools to stay in the question, because their philosophy sort of from a baseline is, if you just keep asking questions, then like as a human being, you're going to have better interactions with other people, or you're going to have, you're just going to be a lot more fun to be a part of, but be around, right? So if you aren't a coach and you need some of that coaching skills, I highly recommend picking up any book by Gary or Dane, or learning some basic, coaching sorts of skills. And that's where learning those skills is really what sales and marketing is about. And that's where you can have it. I think Jane wrote in the group, and she, made me tear up this weekend. We'll have to go find it and highlight it. But she said that she made that shift of, it's not something I'm doing and I'm butchering the wording, right? But I'm not doing something to somebody anymore. I'm really understanding that getting them to understand for themselves that working with somebody like me would be the best thing that could happen for them right now, and getting them to make that as a choice. That's like, it's almost more important sort of sometimes than them actually end up doing the work with you, right? They need to make that initial choice. So great stuff. That's just the program stuff we've covered. So I'd like to finish up here with. So
there's a program, and then I would consider that to be some sales communication.
Yeah, I'd like to get into more of the sales stuff. So or marketing. So marketing to me happens before sales, right? You've got to go out there and let people know who you are, what you're up to, and
how you can help them.
So there's three fundamentals with this. Person, right? So who is the person? The ideal client, sometimes it gets called the problem that's keeping them up awake at night, and the place where they're hanging out at, right? And sometimes the place is dictated to you first. So if you already have clients and you're looking to take some of them and upgrade them, then you're saying, okay, I got these clients, and what is the problem that they're staying up awake at night with, and how can I create something that would support them even more, right? It might be that you feel comfortable at networking meetings, and so you're going to be like, okay, what networking meetings can I go to and create something that for these people that solves a problem for them, etc., right? Person, place, and problem, right? And if you are in the stage of up-leveling yourself and you're like, I really would like to start charging $10,000, the first piece that needs to be shifted quite often is where you're getting those clients from, right? In my experience, you're not going to find a lot of $10,000 transformationally based clients at free low-level networking events, because everyone there is looking for free low-level advice, right? You're finding a needle in a haystack in those situations. That's my point of view. I got started that way with, some lower levels.
Right. Mandy built up a following, and then by offering more and more and more training, she indoctrinated many people into understanding that she had a lot of good information. They could come to her for. So if they had a problem, she was a solution. But that was before she had a true transformational program. That was when you were getting your.
So you might need to change your place. So when you look at marketing, you're wanting to understand that mix. Like, you can get clients anywhere, but the price of your programs might be determined. The depth of your offerings might be determined by where you're hanging out and what problems those people are having. And even just keeping this is where you can go. So what else is possible? What else is possible, right? So say you know what, networking is just really going to work for me right now. Change the problem. Well, what problem could I solve that would allow me to charge $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it is, right? With total ease. So instead of saying, most of us go into the how it can't work, I've got to get you into the continued question of, well, what else is possible here? How could I make this really fun? Because those people are there all the time. But person, place, and problem match very closely with your price and your program, right? And you've got to get the mix of those 5 in something that feels like real ease for you. So let me know for you guys if those 5 marketing things are things you're like, yep, I I know LinkedIn's where I want to play. I know what problem I solve for people. I know what my program is, right? Let me know if you got that one down.
And then Celeste, you are a coach. You just haven't committed it yet.
If you are a fourth grader to a third grader, there is some, and whether you don't want to call yourself a coach because you're not licensed to, it's fine. You're mentoring them. You're accelerating them on their journey, right? I studied with Dan Kennedy a long time, and there's a certain mindset mentality that people who like to get certifications have. I'm one of them, so I understand this fully. But certifications are all about us getting approval from somebody else that we're worthy. And they take it, like that whole system is set up in a way that's highly judgmental, that's highly regulated, right? Because we don't want anybody teaching anything that's not in accordance to the principles. We have standards to uphold, right?
It keeps out the shysters.
And yet, what we know in the real world is if you're a better marketer, you're going to get the more clients. And so as conscious entrepreneurs, we have to bridge that gap. So I'm not telling you to go out there and provide shitty services. None of you would ever do that. I know I'm safe in talking to you, right? But some of you need that kick in the ass that, oh, I'm not going to go get clients yet because I'm not certified in something. No, just start teaching somebody something about what you're doing. Find out how to be helpful to them, and go get the certification you want to get to make it all official on the side. And
I want to split hairs over a mentor and a coach, right? So a mentor is got two sort of areas. One is I'm an older person, or I'm at a much higher stage, right? I can mentor somebody who is beginning their career, right? I can mentor someone who's never opened a business before, right? I can help them understand which things are big problems, which things are small problems, right? I can mentor my children on some level, right? A coach typically helps you deal with more strategic and tactical things around a specific expertise, right? Where a mentor might be more of a generality, right, with some emotions or experiences. And the reason I'm poking Celeste about you being a coach is you have such a very specific expertise. And if you were open to talking to people about when they need to be talking to an attorney about intellectual property rights, right? Most people that are not an attorney only feel like they need one when they have a conflict. And your business is much more like insurance than it is about conflict management. And so to the degree that you could be willing to share, these are the circumstances when you need IPR. These are the stages when you need IPR, right? And coaching them up to speed with when they need it, right? That is the pathway to you getting customers. It might be coaching other attorneys, coaching other financial services professionals, right? That every business needs this, this, and this, right?
So after mastering marketing, let's say that's strategy, person, problem, place, product, and program and price. Those are the marketing strategy pieces. Then you get into marketing tactics, right? Or sales funnels, things that get people from just visibility to an actual sales conversation, right? So it might be marketing tactics that you really suck at. So it might be, don't know how to turn the computer on, can't get the fucking webcam to do, don't know how to set up time trade, don't know how to build my website. That's a lot of where people get stuck in sometimes. It's also a lot of times where they get distracted, because if you just keep wrapping yourself in, there's more to learn, there's more to learn, there's more to learn, right? You'll never get to, how do I move somebody from finding out they have a problem to telling them that I can help solve that to taking their money, right? So beyond, so it might be, yes, I have lots of pieces of the marketing tactics that you suck at. Like I'll create a list for you of like all those different things. I'd keep that narrowed down to whatever modality you're going to use to get clients. So if you're looking to get clients from speaking, there's a subset of tactics that you need to learn. If you're going to get them from Facebook, There's some subsets of things. LinkedIn, different set of things. Don't try to do more than 3 or 4 in a year, okay? I like clients to focus with me on like a tactic, like a modality sort of, if you want to call it, like every quarter. Like let's spend 90 days learning how to use Facebook to get clients. Let's spend 90 days learning how to use LinkedIn to get clients. It often ends up taking more than that. But if you're going to use any sort of tactic, you've got to give it enough time to fit in with your overall strategy, get some results so that you can look at it cognitively and go, okay, well, we got more people to look at us, but we didn't get enough people to sign up for sales conversations.
And so when you're taking on something like Facebook, there's some button pushing you have to learn. There's some planning you have to learn, including time management. How much do I post? How often do I post? Where do I post? What does a post look like? What should a post say? There's lots of little tactical stuff that if you haven't done it before, you're going to be like, oh my God, there's so much stuff.
Right.
But in a month, you're right, really, no, it's really not that big a deal. I got some idea with it. I can see that I'm getting some comments. I'm starting to understand how the interactions work.
And having the idea of what we started with, the program in mind, helps you to order, is this distraction happening, the Facebook comments, or what do I post on social media? That should be in service of the higher goal of I'm looking to get these big clients. Okay. And we'll go more into tactical stuff, like that kind of stuff tomorrow, I believe, is that kind of conversation. After marketing is you have sales. So after somebody gets to know about you, for me, marketing is visibility and communication. Are those the 2 main skill sets you need to have? How visible can you be, and how can you communicate to the people who need you now and need to be educated to have you, work with you later? Then we get into a numbers game. Sales is about getting people qualified to have a conversation with you so that you can ask them the questions that help them identify whether or not they're ready and willing to co-create an outcome that you want to help them create together. And it's not about you getting them to buy your stuff. It's really about making sure they're a fit. They're going to do their part to co-create this reality with you and not just expect you to like fix them, right? So do you need help with sales?
You're fixed.
None of us can do that.
Oh,
I don't think anybody wants to.
I can do it because I know you're broken and I know how to fix it.
Right. So how many of you need help in the sales or marketing conversations area?
Seeing me on the delay.
That's fun, isn't it? Sales. How many of you need help with sales or marketing conversations? Yeah. This shows up like, I hate having sales conversations. I'm afraid to ask for money. I constantly want to discount my services. I have no idea how to talk about how any time with me is beneficial. I just talk about it being time with me. You're supposed to know how awesome I am.
If you have clients who say, well, I don't really have time right now, or I'm not really sure this is a fit,
I need to talk to my husband.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Those are all signals.
Right?
Yeah.
Deborah's like, I'm reading her mind. You know me so well. And Leah says, I need help on the mindset and the positioning. Right. Okay, so with that then, mastering the sales conversation, let me just say here, I participated in several years of being part of a mastermind group, doing sales, with a coach who taught us how to do sales conversations, who listened to them. I have facilitated this with my own clients for more than 5 years. And my best friend participated in a program that was $100,000, and we shared resources there. She's like, if I'm spending, $8,000 a month on a sales coach, then I need a lot of support, and you've listened to all this shit with me and helping me out with it. So
it was actually in the digesting of that material that I began to get more involved in that, because Mandy is literally got audio playing all the time. There's a lot of material, and I like to learn, so I was listening to what he's saying, and I think he's talking about this and you talk about that. It create a lot of conversation.
If I use the word mastery a lot, partially because for me, it helps me understand this journey of we talk about more clients, more cash, more fun, more freedom, right? And we get ourselves hung up sometimes in, well, marketing's not fun. I just want somebody else to do it for me, right? And then in I have to ask people, well, if you just want to have somebody do it for you, first of all, I've done that enough to know that if you don't want clients, or if you're not clear enough about the clients you want, you're going to sabotage whatever effort somebody does to help you get clients, because you're not sort of in co-creation in that aspect.
You might employ fear or
if the
control.
Person you're hiring doesn't really want money, they're going to energetically, repel clients from you. So
you might create confusion.
We have a whole, training program on hiring team and making sure your team creates money for you and all that. But to bring it back to are you choosing to hire somebody to help you with the marketing because you don't want to learn how to do it, because you just want a hobby, you only want to be doing your craft, right? And you don't want to get to be the CEO of the business, because the CEO of the business knows enough about marketing and enough about sales and enough about like everything that they can then go hire the people to help them. So mastery comes in taking something that doesn't feel fun today and asking a constant question of, well, how can this be fun? How can this be fun? And I did that.
Are you allowed to have fun? Are you shitting me right now?
It's a different way to look at the fun, because every client who's making more than $250,000 or $500,000 used to tell me that sales conversations weren't fun, used to tell me that they hated marketing, and they like it now. They understand it now. They understand how to have teams support them in those activities. And most of the time they say, you know what, I'd really rather be having the sales conversations, because like Jane has had the aha about having that conversation with people is way better than dealing with the week to week minutia of people's stories and, living in their realities.
I really love what Wendy's given us right now. Wendy's got a clear idea of what she wants to achieve, and it feels like she's accessing something that's bigger than what she was asking for before. I like that. She's wanting to target women globally.
Yep.
I'm
going to learn to love marketing selves. So your question, what would it take? What would it take to be masterful at sales and marketing? What would it take? What would it take? And just keep staying in that question for yourself. It might be coming to play with us. It might be finding somebody else to go play with, right?
It might be 100 push-ups.
Okay, sales is something, though, that I don't want to put a conclusion on it, but it's something that you have to have. Like my mentor made me go have 100 conversations, right? Which means you have to do enough marketing to have 100 conversations, right? But after 100, there's not a lot of objections right now that you could throw at me that I wouldn't be able to overcome or get an awareness of that this client just isn't ready and I don't want to work with them. They're going to be a pain in the ass. So, let me suggest something for them to move on with. Like you get a sense that it's a fit or it's not, right? Instead of just being desperate for clients. So that's another piece of, if you go into any of this desperate for a client, or in a conclusion that the clients will be the thing that pays you rent or that gets the bills paid, like those are some other mindset fucks we can deal with.
And the reason you went through the 100 is because where you have hurdles and beliefs and wormholes and stuff, that would get to be exposed through it.
Right.
So I've done some initial sales training with somebody, and this was at, sort of low-level selling of products on the phone, not selling a massive service or selling yourself. And the first day or two of being on the conversation is just when you pick up the phone saying, this is who I am, and this is where I'm from, and this is what I'm doing. And just being able to get the words out without stepping on your toes, right? And literally you would give someone, here's a list of 100 people to call. Just call them and spit out, this is who I am, and this is what's going on, and this is what happens. There's a whole routine for how to get yourself into the right mind just in that kind of conversation, right? Like I would often call someone that I knew, like it would be a friend or my father or somebody that I speak to regularly, just so I could get my voice acclimated to be in the conversations, the first couple of them in the morning. right? The other part of it is you see how even as I'm talking to you, I'm ramping up my energy and I'm ramping up my excitement, because the more of this that I can be, the more people are like, I'm going to stand out to you. I'm going to be different. I'm going to show up differently, and it's going to create a different, right? These are all very simple sort of tactical things that you'll learn that with a little bit of practice will help you. Another thing was that you'd have a mirror up in front of you. So when you were on the phone, you could see how you showed up. So you would smile, right? Mm-hmm. So all kinds of tactical things can go into that sales conversation outside of all of the mind fucks that you can come up with about why somebody wouldn't have the money.
And so a magical mindset is the last piece here that you'll want to take some stock in for yourself as your homework, right? Is, do you believe in magic? Do you remember when you were magic? Or do you believe that your business is, out to get you? Your business really wants you to be poor. Your money really doesn't like you, and your body really doesn't want to be taken care of. Like, whatever poo piles you live in and you create for yourselves, all of those on a conscious entrepreneur journey got to be dealt with, because anywhere you continue to have judgment or resistance in your own life, you magically create people to show up in your reality that either prove you right. Yeah, see, the horses, can wait 6 months before they can,
we don't need
work
horses
with you, right?
We don't need horses. Horses are silly.
So you have to learn to master the faith of a mustard seed sort of thing. Like, I'm going to do this because I want to do it, not because I need to see any results of what's happening. And as soon as you give up your conclusion about the results, I promise you some magic stuff will happen, right? Brian says he is magic. Yes. So with that, we're going to sign off here. And Celeste says she's magic. Deborah's magic. Take stock in that. So today we went through some of the shitty, the shitty pieces of things. So what if you don't have the impact and the income that you want this year, right? Go ahead and feel the shame and the judgment of 2017. But take a look at it and say, who was I not being? Right? Did I get enough leads last year to have had enough sales conversations? If I had sales conversations, would I know what the fuck to say? If I, get somebody to say yes, do I have something in a program where I don't have to continue reselling them all the time? That's another reason why I love year-long programs or 6-month programs, is because I don't have to resell you every session, right? I have consistent income coming in. You know that you have somebody to support you for the next, sets of weeks and whatnot, right? And then look at, do you need help with programs? Do you need help with your sales funnels? Do you need help with marketing activities? Do you need help with marketing strategy? Do you need help with sales? Do you need help with the noise in your brain? And then we're going to talk more about some different ways to take some next steps tomorrow on tomorrow's call. So tomorrow we're on at noon Eastern time.
My other suggestion is we got a chance to go over homework and do stuff. If you have questions, you have some bullshit that you still need to flush out about what's real for you, right? And what you really want. We've had homework now, just as a reminder, right? Because we do a lot of this and we're cruising through so much material.
How do you want them to deliver the homework? I think there's been a question about that.
That's a great question. We've done some posting it in the group. We could talk about it live because we started this as a list, and I can understand now how do you deliver that. It's a way to come through.
Posting in the Facebook group is probably the best way.
Yeah,
if you're not in the Facebook group, I know some of you are listening to this on YouTube. Feel free to email Ron or I.
Hashtag expand your impact in Facebook. We can put you in.
Ron's email is ron@expandyourimpact.com, and my email is mandy@expandyourimpact.com, and my email is mandy.
So here's some questions that we covered just to provoke and see if something comes up. What does $1 million mean to you? What do you want? What are you tolerating? What impact would you like to make? What is the cost? What would happen if you choose inaction? Right? That's what Randy brought up today. And what is impact for you? Those are the sort of questions that were designed to get you to reshape what is going on in your belief sets in your world.
And it's totally okay if some of you come back and go, you know what? I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to figure out how to build
I
a
like
business.
my hobby.
I like my hobby. I'm really willing to be, I want to do a hobby for
I
next
have a
year.
lot of hobbies.
Right? But if you're committed to building the business, now we need to take some steps in getting serious about what do you need to put in place to help you stop being the worker bee in your business and start being the owner of the business. Okay? Because that's how we're going to get to impacting, 1 million people and making $1 million and having total fun and freedom with that. So thank you for joining us on a Sunday afternoon.
Thanks so much for showing up.
Thank you so much. And for those who are going to listen to the replay later, thank you, whatever time you're listening to this. The replays are at the links, the expandyourimpact.com/day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. The replays are there. And then there's, you got to get signed up for Monday. So if you're not signed up for Monday, that's expandyourimpact.com/day 6. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Day 6 or day 7?
It's day 7. I was just going to the top.
Yeah,
The
day
Monday's
7.
day 7.
Monday's day 7. Okay.
It's going to be our most powerful yet. Please show up with your bells on. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.